Give you an overview of the home buying process from start to finish. Because the number one thing that people say to me is, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm supposed to do next. Like, what am I supposed to do? So I'm hoping this video can help with that. And I am going to do this. I've been struggling, like, do I do it like when I buy a house, as a buyer, what I do, or do I do the overview? I'm not sure. So it might go in and out. Please forgive me in advance. Okay, here we go. So if I'm buying a house, the number one thing I do is I get pre-approved. Yes, even me as a lender, I get pre-approved before I go shopping. I have another lender look at all of my stuff to make sure that I am good to go. I didn't miss anything. Because I have to tell you guys, it's really hard when it's your own situation to look at it without bias. Right? Because you look at your own situation and you're like, oh, well, this or that. You really want to have that third party look at your situation to see if there's something you missed. And also, if you're not a lender, our guidelines are crazy, like crazy. The stuff, and people are like, that doesn't make sense. I'm like, yeah, welcome to mortgages. Everything is based off worst case. So you really want to make sure that you get that pre-approval before you even talk to a realtor. Don't even talk to them yet. Okay? Here's the thing, realtors are commission salespeople. They don't get paid unless you can close. And any of the good realtors that I know, they're gonna require a pre-approval letter before they start showing you houses because A, it's the way they can do their job the best, but B, they're commission employees. Like, you don't wanna go, if you're only gonna get paid if someone can close, like, you're not gonna go out with people who aren't qualified. You're not, unless you have no business, like literally like no business. So, if someone's willing to just hop in a car with you without making sure a lender's vetted you, I would actually be a little concerned about that. And I know some realtors do that because they're like, oh, I don't want to lose the client, or I don't want to, upset anyone. You're not losing a client or upsetting someone. The bottom line is that if you guys go looking for houses with a realtor and you like one, I haven't seen anywhere where they're letting you do an offer without a letter from a lender with a pre-approval. In a hot market, why would they even touch your offer? You have nothing to verify that what you're saying is accurate, true, or even possible. The thing about having a pre-approval is it backs up your offer. It's saying, yeah, Jane can totally buy this house at XYZ down. I have verified this. I am a professional licensed lender who has verified that Jane qualifies. Okay? Looking at houses without that is a waste of time. And we see it a lot. I'll get calls at 7 o'clock on Saturday and someone will be like, oh, hey, I just saw a house and I need a letter. Can you get me a letter? And I'm like, have we pre-approved you before? No. Can you do that? No. Nope. No, I can't. Sorry. No, 7 o'clock on a Saturday, you should have done your homework a week before. And that's the thing, like, good lenders, like, we want to do our job correctly. And the only way we can do our job correctly is if we verify all your information. And that takes time. It's not something done in 20 minutes on a Saturday night. Also, just so you guys know, lenders work crazy hours right now. Like, I'm working 15 to 16 hours during the work days, right? I don't want to talk to anyone on Saturday that wants to get pre-qualified. I'm going to be like, you know what? Good luck. Go find another lender. Like, you didn't have the decency or the respect to the realtor or myself to do this before you went shopping. Good luck. Bye. And I know that seems harsh, but seriously, guys, like, you got to give lenders time. And you should respect a realtor enough to realize, hey, look, if this person only gets paid if I can close, I should be a decent human being and make sure I can actually close. I mean, I know that sounds harsh, but it's true. If you're just going out with a realtor without getting pre-approved, you could just be wasting their time. And whether you think realtors are scum or you think they're wonderful, it's not nice and it's not cool. So get pre-approved. Okay, so I would get pre-approved first. The next thing I would do is I would select a realtor. Now, in my business, I deal with realtors all day long. It's all I do. And I have to tell you, there's not one realtor that I would use for every type of purchase. I have realtors that I know that are super good at investment properties, and I would use them for that, but I wouldn't use them for my primary. And then I have some where if I was going to sell my primary, I would use them, but I would definitely not use them to buy an investment property. There are different realtors that specialize in different things, so it's very important to be mindful of who you choose. Ideally, you want someone who is very knowledgeable in the market, who has a good, pleasant personality. You know, if someone's rude to you, they're probably rude to the other realtors. And what I can tell you is, like, you as a client can have your offer not accepted because people don't want to work with your realtor. It's a thing. It's totally a thing. And even if you offer the most, if that person has a terrible disposition or is known in the industry or locally to be horrible to work with, people are going to look at your offer last. So it's very important that you pick someone, you know, and I usually use the metric of, like, someone you'd want to spend time with, someone who's ethical. What I do see is that in certain markets, realtors get reputations quick. And if they're known to pull fast ones, you know, like wait till the day before closing and then negotiate or threaten to cancel, they get a reputation. And you don't want to be a client who's not getting their offers accepted because their realtor has a bad reputation. Now, we do see this more in, you know, smaller towns. In larger cities, you're not going to see it as much unless it's someone who is doing it constantly and has burnt out a lot of the top producers. So the realtor you pick is very important. The other thing to note about picking a realtor is you want to make sure that they specialize in what you're looking for. So as I was saying with the investment or primary, but beyond that, price point. Yeah. So if, for instance, you're looking at $1 million house and you're working with a realtor that normally sells $200,000 houses, they're not going to have the best understanding of this market. Just like if you're working with a realtor that sells $1 million houses and you're looking at a $200,000 house, they're not going to be an expert in that area. And I'm sure I'm going to get at least 10 comments from realtors saying, we can sell anything. And sure, I agree with you. However, you know, if you look at someone's last 20 sales and they're all in a certain price point, I would argue they're an expert in that price point. Okay? So really pay attention to who you're working with. Okay, so you've selected your realtor. I selected my realtor. Now I'm gonna go home shopping. So the market is crazy competitive right now. So don't be shocked if the realtor's asking you to write an offer the same day you see a property. The houses across the country right now are moving super fast, and you have to be able to react really quickly. So you want to make sure that you're mentally prepared when you go out shopping, that if you like something, you write an offer on it, because there's a very good chance that by tomorrow that house will be gone. And that's not a realtor trying to pressure you or steamroll you. It's just the market, right? And look, talk to your realtor about the local market. There are some that are a little bit slower, like you could have a couple days, you know, stuff stays on the market longer, great. But there are some where literally the stuff is gone within 2 hours. Yeah, it's wild right now. So talk to your realtor about that. Just because they're trying to get you to write an offer the same day does not mean they're pushy or bad or trying to take advantage of you. It may just be the market you're in. Okay, now the next thing is, if I'm writing an offer on a house, I'm always going to want to know, you know, if a realtor's telling me to offer over asking, I'm going to be asking to look at some comps to make sure it's going to appraise. And if it's not going to appraise, I'm going to be talking to my lender and looking at my finances to see, do I want to bridge the difference? So let's say I'm buying a house for $500,000 and there's 10 offers on it. So my realtor's saying, Jen, you need to offer $589,000. $589,000, that's such a random number. Where are you getting this from, right? And if they show me comps and they're like, look, you know, there's houses like this, they were listed at $500,000, they're selling at $590,000, you know, or the last house just like this just sold at $575,000, so this should go up higher, you know, great. But if they're just coming up with a random number out of a hat, I would be a little hesitant on that, because the random numbers out of a hat, unless you have a ton of cash, you have a very good chance of even if you get your offer accepted, not being able to close. Because if this random number, the appraisal doesn't come in at that and you don't have the money to bridge the difference, all you've done is wasted money on appraisals and inspections. So you want to have a conversation with your realtor as to, okay, cool, where are you getting this number from? Is it likely to appraise? Should I be budgeting that I'm going to have to bring in money? What's the deal? Okay. Now, beyond that, when you're writing the contract with the realtor, ask them to go through it with you. And if they're like, oh, just sign it, that's not good. You need to understand the contingencies in the contract. So there's certain, and it depends on state, there's certain triggers in the contract, like, maybe you have to have all your inspections done and you have to agree to the condition of the property within 10 days. These are the things you need to know so that on your end, you can make appropriate movements, Okay, so let's say your contract got accepted. Congratulations. You're going to want to immediately send it to the lender. So if I'm buying a house, I send it to the lender and I call the lender and I annoy them. I'm the worst. Just so you guys know, I am the worst. I will call them until they confirm they have it. And I would say if people do that to me, it drives me nuts, but do it. I'm fine with it. It's fine. And the reason is you just want to make sure they got your contract. Like, I know with my email, I read my email and I have 2 assistants reading it now, and we're looking for contracts. We're like contract hunters. But if you have a loan officer who maybe doesn't have a bigger team, maybe the amount of loans they're doing is growing really quick, they could miss it. Yeah. Or maybe they never got it. Maybe someone typed their email in wrong. I've had that. I've had it where people have been like, you didn't get the contract? And I'm like, no. I'm like, what email did you send it to? And they've spelled my last name wrong. Or, they sent it to a different lender. There's all these different factors. So you want to make sure that your lender gets the contract day one. Day one. Do not assume your realtor will get it to them or call them or notify them. Don't assume it. I would probably say 4 out of 10 realtors notify us when a client's in contract. I'm usually finding out from the clients first. Seriously. I get it where 3 days have passed. Oh, here, Jennifer, here's the contract. Great. I just lost 3 days. Lenders need the contract day one because there's so much we have to do. And in order to meet your timelines, we need to go running day one. Okay, so you're in contract, you've notified your lender. The lender you want to confirm, so I always order the appraisal on day one. The only time I can't do that is with FHA because you have to have signed your disclosures before I can order your appraisal. So you want to ask your lender though, or you want to say, hey, can you order the appraisal on this today? Do I need an appraisal? Can you order it today? Right? Because some lenders, they don't order the appraisal day one. They don't order the appraisal day 5. They wait 2 weeks, 3 weeks to order the appraisal. So it really varies based on the lender that you're working with. So you want to say, hey, can you order my appraisal now? And if you're like, well, why do you care if it's ordered the first week? Well, if I'm buying a house, the biggest thing that's going to blow it up is if it doesn't appraise. Yeah, if it doesn't appraise, at certain times I may put in more money, but personally, I'm not really one of those people that wants to pay over the appraised value. I feel like appraisers are skilled. They're looking at what's realistic for the market. They're looking at comparable sales. I feel like what they're giving is a fair value, and I don't like paying over that, and I know in this market, a lot of people are being forced to pay over, so you have to know if you're comfortable with that or not. So I always want the appraisal as quickly as possible because of the value, but also because the appraisal can have bombs in it. Yes, bombs. Loan bombs. So like for instance, if an appraiser goes through a house and he says mold on back bedroom wall, oh, goodness sakes. Well, guess what? He said the word mold. Any lender's going to call out a mold inspection now. Yeah. Or he could say, the deck is in not good condition, recommend pest inspection. So even if you guys don't want a pest inspection, if an appraiser calls it out, I as the lender need it. Yeah, and then that opens up a whole new can of worms. So a lot of times people are like, well, the seller's selling the property as is. That's great that the seller wants to sell the property as is, but as a lender, I don't care. Oh, that was mean. Hold on, let me take a water break. Maybe I'll be nicer afterwards. Nope, I'm not. Okay, we don't care. It's great that the seller wants to sell the house as is. However, if an appraiser highlights to us that there's an issue with the property, we have to look at it. We can't be like, oh, no. Like the appraiser said there was mold on the ceiling, but it's cool. The seller's as is. No. Guys, we're investing with you. The lender who's doing the the mortgage, right? We're the lender, we're giving you the mortgage. Well, guess what? That mortgage is based on you, but it's also based on the property. So if the property is in a condition which makes it a risk, we're not going to invest in it. Nope. So appraisals can have bombs. And are there ways around them? Sure. If the appraiser saw mold and you get a mold inspection and it's nothing and they paid $200 to scrape it and treat it, cool. No problem. If they call it a pest report and the pest report comes in clean, cool, no problem. If they call it a pest report and there's $40,000 in Section 1 repairs, not cool, gonna be a problem. So I like getting the appraisal as quickly as possible to offset that. Now, personally as well, I want my loan to underwriting within 4 business days. Yeah, I want to be, even though I've worked with the lender, right? And this is me, I'm looking at it, another lender's looking at it, and I want it signed off by the underwriter. It's the only way I'm going to sleep at night. And if you guys are anxious or first-time home buyers, I would recommend you get all your documents to the processor as quickly as possible, and you really push your lender to get your file into underwriting as quickly as possible. So with my team, we're always like, I want it in underwriting within 5 business days. If it's not, I want you harassing the client. Because the thing is that your pre-approval is great, but it's not 100% real until that underwriter signs it off. So I always want to get my file to underwriting as quickly as possible, because that also lets me know what I need to work on. Because the underwriter often will call out things that we don't have originally. Like I may think that, some of the stuff that I provided makes sense, but they may ask for a letter of explanation. Like, hey, why does your rental property suddenly have so many expenses? Or, I don't know. There's 8 million reasons an underwriter's going to want a letter of explanation. So I always want to know what we're missing up front. And sometimes it can be stuff like, oh, we need one more bank statement, or please provide most recent pay stub. Because of COVID, I would tell you guys to just stack your pay stubs the entire time. We're going to ask for them throughout the entire process. Now, if you're retired, this doesn't apply to you. If you're military, yeah, I'm still going to want those LESs. But just know a lender's going to constantly be asking for updates on income because of what we saw with the COVID job loss in 2020. So, okay, so you want to get your file to underwriting within the first 5 days. So the way you guys do that is you push your lender a little bit, but you also provide all the documents that they need as quickly as possible. Okay, and you're also going to confirm with your lender when they're going to order that appraisal. Now, after you confirm with the lender on the appraisal, you're gonna call and get a homeowner's insurance quote. Yes, you have to do that. That's like day 1, day 2 stuff. Get that homeowner's insurance quote as quickly as possible. And the reason is, I see homeowners insurance quotes blow up loans. Yes. So you may think, oh, it's probably gonna be like $50 a month, but the house actually is in a flood zone or something else, and it's $400 a month. Yeah, I have seen on a $200,000 house insurance that is $700 a month because of the location of the house. Yeah, and that's something that can blow up the loan. So if you wait till the end of the loan to get the homeowner's insurance quote, even if I've already run it through underwriting and have an approval, that quote changes everything. So I can go from approved to denied because of a homeowner's insurance quote. So you want that quote in there first time it goes to underwriting, okay? Seriously, I see this stuff go sideways all the time. And luckily at this point, like I think so many of our clients come from YouTube, they know that I'm gonna be asking about that homeowner's insurance quote. But if you're not working with me and you're working with another lender, make sure you get that to the lender as quickly as possible. Okay, now on the homeowner's insurance front, one more thing. Figure out who it is within the first 2 days too, because from the lender perspective, what's really a problem is if we're getting ready to close and then you go, wait, I don't want to use that insurance company. And we're like, oh God, no. And the reason is, okay, we now have to get a new insurance binder from the new insurance. We have to update your debt to income. On certain loans, we might have to take it back to the underwriter for approval. You know, there's a lot that goes into it. It's not easy to just change numbers in a transaction. So you really want to be mindful of that. Okay, so while your loan's being underwritten, you want to make sure that you're working with your realtor to get all the inspections. So pest inspection, homeowners inspection, if there's a well, yeah, get a well inspection. If there's a septic, yeah, definitely get a septic inspection. Your realtor is the person that helps you with all of that. So the lender does the appraisal, all other inspections, the realtor should be guiding you on like, oh, this is who I use, or, you know, use who you want, whatever, and making sure that it fits the timeline of the contract, because the contracts have set periods for when you have to release inspections by. Okay, so this is something you're going to want to be on day 1, day 2 too. Like, with all of these transactions, the more proactive you are the first week, the better the rest of the thing goes. Yeah, because if you're day 15 and you're like, oh, I need a pest. You know, and especially some of these inspectors, they're booked up. With how crazy the market is, it could be 3 weeks before you get an inspector out there. And at that point, your realtor may have to do an addendum to the contract to extend the inspection contingencies. So you really want to be all over that. Now, with the inspections, do not send any inspections to the lender unless we ask for it. Yes. Don't send us stuff unless we ask for it. You know, there's certain loans where we require a pest, and there's certain loans where we don't. If it's a loan where I don't require a pest, I really don't want it, because anything you send to me, I have to send to an underwriter. Anything the underwriter looks at, they have to go through with a fine-tooth comb. So do not send inspections to your lender unless you want an underwriter to review them and put a ton of conditions on the loan. Maybe they won't, maybe the house is perfect, but don't send us stuff we don't need. Same thing goes for documents. Don't send us documents you think might be helpful. The reason is because sometimes that just adds to, it makes us have to give you more conditions because you're bringing stuff that we're like, wait, why are they bringing this to us? What do we not know? You know, give lenders what they ask for. Don't just throw everything at them. Okay. So your loan went to underwriting, you got your inspections back, you've reviewed your inspections with your realtor, you've determined if you're going to try to negotiate for anything with the seller. Your loans come back from underwriting. So when it comes back from underwriting, you're usually going to have a couple things the underwriter wants, because it seems like no matter what, they come up with something. And then it's going to go back to underwriting for final sign off. So when you're clear to close is where you can go, okay. Now, that big sigh does not mean that you can open up any debt. Do not change jobs. Do not, buy a car. During any of this process, do not do any of that. Do not stop paying your bills, right? Don't stop paying your rent. Don't get into a fight with your landlord. Still keep it clean, but clear to close is when you know you're close to the finish line. So once you're clear to close, we order loan docs, and it's going to differ from lender to lender how long the rest of this takes. So in my world, from clear to close to loan docs is usually about 2 days, but we have to time it with when your closing is. Sometimes we'll be clear to close like 10, 20 days before your closing, especially if you have a longer escrow. So just because you're clear to close doesn't mean you get to start being wild with your credit. So once we have the loan documents out, that is when we balance the final CD. The final CD is when you'll know the exact amount of money to come in with, okay? So once you come in to sign, you sign. In certain states, you'll sign, you'll fund the next day and record the next day and get keys. In other states, you sign and get the keys the same day. So it really depends state to state. Your realtor is a great guide on that. If you're like, hey, when I sign, is that when I get keys? They will tell you yes or no or what to be prepared for. But the key thing through all of this is you want to get the heavy lifting done as quickly as possible. You need to be glued to your email, because the realtors are going to be sending you documents to sign. Title and escrow companies are going to be sending you documents to sign. We're going to be sending you documents to sign. Everything's electronic now, so you really need to make sure that you're tied in to email. Also, if a lender calls you, call them back. Seriously, call them back. Like, this shouldn't be, you know, the worst transactions are the one where my team's like, he hasn't called back. And I'm like, how many times have you called him? 4. Do you want the house or do you not want the house? If you want the house, you need to give the lender what they need. You need to call us back. If the realtor's calling to find out something like, hey, can we do an inspection on Tuesday, and you're not calling back, it's a problem. You have to be really tied in, emotionally vested, and available throughout the process. I cannot stress that enough. And if you're gonna go on vacation, please tell us. Please tell us, because my favorite is when, you know, we're in the middle of underwriting and someone's like, oh, the borrower won't be back for 3 weeks, so they'll come to the signing. And I'm like, oh my God, like, could they have told us? Like, we would have done this quicker and differently and try to get clear to close before they go on vacation. Because the last thing we want to do is bother you on vacation and be like, hey, I really need that pay stub. Can you please get your bank statement? Or what's the deal with that $20,000 deposit? We don't want to do that. And then sometimes people are going on vacation where they have no Wi-Fi. And just because you were pre-approved doesn't mean you don't have to go through the loan process. So really, when you're buying a house, be emotionally checked in. We're going to need you to be. It is the path to success. So I hope this video has been helpful. I know it was a little bit long. I'm sure I missed stuff. Anything you guys have questions about, or you think I missed, or you're like, wait, can you expand on this? Please let me know.